that she had just spoken with her son before the officers arrived at the apartment. Jake allegedly told his mom, quote, "I have something to tell you. She's dead. We got in a fight and she's dead."
An apartment door opens in Plano, Texas, August 12th, 10:23 in the morning. Two local police officers stand on the mat, expecting a routine welfare check. Inside stands 30-something father Jake Begani, staring back with a calm, lifeless gaze. No panic, no sweating. But right across his shirt sat a large, damp, wet spot that he claimed was just water from cleaning up. You know, just like I know, when a suspect looks you dead in the eye and spins a story, your gut tells you the truth instantly. His young wife, Eliana, was missing. She was supposed to pick up her two little boys, ages 2 and 5, from Jake's luxury apartment complex and meet a friend for breakfast at 8:30 a.m. Back in April, she posted on a neighborhood group saying how excited she was to move her family from Florida to Dallas due to her husband's job, asking local mothers to connect. She explicitly told her friend that morning the pickup wouldn't take more than 10 minutes. 10 short minutes.
Texas mom Eliana Begani was supposed to meet a friend for breakfast last week on Wednesday, but she didn't show up to that breakfast. And when that friend couldn't get in touch with her, and then she learned that Eliana's mom couldn't get in touch with her either, they got nervous and they called police. And that call led to what sounds like a chilling exchange between officers and the man you see here with Eliana, her husband of 7+ years, Jake Begani. Now, Eliana and Jake, they're also parents. They have 2 young boys, ages 2 and 4.
But her phone location froze on that apartment unit and never moved again. Now here's where it gets interesting. Just 3 days before Eliana disappeared, Jake posted a heartwarming video montage on Facebook showing a picture-perfect family celebrating one of their boys' birthdays with bright decorations and soft music.
And just 3 days before Eliana's death, this is what Jake posted on his Facebook page, a montage video showing what seems like a picture-perfect family all together celebrating one of their boys' birthdays. And as you look at this post, there are pictures of Eliana.
We all knew this was a complete facade. You already know what I'm about to say. Behind those slick social media filters lay a terrifying pattern of hidden violence that the public never saw coming.
That beautiful family montage just days before he allegedly killed Eliana, things were not as picture perfect as they seemed. The two of them were reportedly going through a divorce. Now, it's unclear what the circumstances are surrounding them splitting up, but a friend told police that Eliana and Jake were estranged.
Eliana was quietly trying to escape, actively going through a divorce, living estranged from Jake, and trying to build a new career as a realtor. A close friend later told investigators that there were serious, deep-seated concerns regarding Jake being violent in the past. When officers stood in his doorway asking where his wife was, Jake handed them 3 massive lies.
Answers. This is around 10:23 in the morning. Police say they asked Jake where his wife is, and, quote, he advised that she had been there earlier in the day, but that he didn't know where she was currently. Jake Begani advised they were going through a divorce, and she came by to pick up a kid, but the kid was.
He claimed she left alone because a child wasn't feeling well, insisted the wet patch was just cleaning water, and calmly gave officers permission to walk down into his garage.
Wide open. For authorities, the officer discovered, quote, a large apparent wet spot on Jake Begani's shirt. And the officer then asks Jake about that wet spot, and Jake said he had been cleaning. Again, that is a suspect answer.
The officers saw his vehicle, found nothing immediately out of place, and walked back out to their squad car. Think about that terrifying detail for a moment. A cold-blooded killer stood on his porch, handed police a polished story, and almost watched them drive away into the Texas morning. He said, actually, let me rephrase that. The officers literally had no legal authority at that exact second to force their way into the apartment. They were bound by the letter of the law, while a crime scene sat steps away. And this is the part nobody talks about. As those two officers sat inside their cruiser, a dispatch message flashed across their computer screen that changed everything. Hundreds of miles away, in another state, Jake's own mother picked up the phone and called emergency services. She told dispatchers her son had called her just moments before police knocked on his door. On that call, Jake told his own mother words that sent a chill down your spine. "I have something to tell you. She's dead."
Police said that Jake Pagani's own mom called law enforcement from out of state as these officers apparently were inside with Jake. And she says that she had just spoken with her son before the officers arrived at the apartment. Jake allegedly told his mom, quote, "I have something to tell you. She's dead. We got in a fight and she's dead."
We got in a fight and she's dead. I need you to stay with me here. Why would a mother make that impossible phone call against her own flesh and blood unless she already knew the dark reality of what her son was capable of doing? What dark history did that family bury before Texas police ever got involved? Look, I want to pause for a second and speak to you directly, voice to voice, friend to friend. I gotta be honest with you. Reading through these official court affidavits deeply hurts my heart as a parent and as a faithful American. When you look at what's happening across our country today, it feels like the sacred foundations of family, truth, and basic moral protection are being ripped apart. While those police officers were standing at the front door trying to piece together Jake's story, two tiny boys, 2 years old and 5 years old, were sitting right inside that apartment. They were right there. When officers ran back inside after getting the call from his mother, they put Jake in handcuffs. He looked at them and casually asked, "Why are you doing this?" When asked why he told his mother his wife was dead, he looked at them and said, "How would you know this kind of stuff?"
Mom, that Eliana was dead, he reportedly said, quote, "How would you know this kind of stuff?" Now, as police are questioning Jake, they turn their attention once again to that wet spot that was on his shirt because it appears to have dried. And now there was a reddish-brown stain there. And police believe that
That wet patch on his shirt had dried while they were talking. It wasn't water from cleaning. It had turned into a dark reddish-brown stain. Blood. Officers marched back down to that garage, opened the trunk of Jake's car, and exposed the horrific truth. Inside lay the lifeless body of Eliana Begani, covered in severe trauma to her head and face, wrapped in blood-stained clothing.
they say they go to Jake's car and they open the trunk. And they say inside the trunk were the remains of a woman. And they say that it was the body of Eliana Begani. Her clothing appeared to have blood on it, according to the arrest affidavit that we have. They also note she had, quote, significant damage to her face and head, and various bruises on her body that appeared to be from an alleged violent confrontation.
Inside the apartment, investigators found a massive amount of blood spatter. This wasn't an accident, not an accident at all. This was a brutal, calculated destruction of a young mother who put her faith in a marriage that turned out to be a trap. The corrupt elite culture tells us to trust the digital images, trust the smooth talkers, and ignore our God-given instincts when something feels wrong. They spend billions of taxpayer money pushing narratives that distract us, while real American families are torn apart by unaddressed evil. Here's the thing, though. Jake was immediately arrested and charged with first-degree murder, along with abuse of a corpse, locked away in the Collin County Jail without
confrontation. Police say the children were removed from the home. They also say they found a large amount of blood spatter inside the apartment. Jake was arrested. He is charged with abuse of a corpse and murder in the first degree. And right now, he is being...
But the real story doesn't end behind those steel bars. How does a man post videos celebrating family love one week and then stuff the mother of his toddlers into a car trunk the next? What did those two innocent little boys witness in that apartment before officers carried them away to safety? You know, just like I know, There are details in those police files that Washington politicians and big tech executives don't want you to examine too closely. They want you to move on to the next headlines, so you never question the deeper moral breakdown rotting our culture. The real files are buried in local courthouses, while corporate media covers up systemic failures. And the reason for that? Well, you'll see. When the system protects the narrative instead of protecting the innocent, how are honest, God-fearing American families supposed to safeguard their children? Leave your thoughts in the comments below, because Washington won't answer that question. But as awake Americans, we must demand justice together.